then all of you the link so you will can follow this on that part too. Let me share my screen. So I start with the presentation. Perfect. So this is the basic of the Next.js course. I want to follow you and to explain you why. So in 2000, I want to say 2023, but it could be 2022, they deprecate React App, which was the framework that people used to use React in the past. And the official documentation tells you that now you need to move all your projects and all your development to Next.js. And at the moment that this happened, I thought that the learning curve was too high for people that was just familiar with JavaScript, how are gonna move people to learn Next.js. But then I followed the documentation of the Next.js and realized that it is very straightforward and it's a great framework that solves most of the problems that React has that make it difficult and allow you to work in just one development environment from the back end and the front end. So you don't need to do this extra server with Express or anything else. And that motivated me to create this course around Next.js. So this is a little of what we'll see today. I will explain the training objectives for this session. The main goal of the whole thing is that in this economy, you probably will have to freelance at some point. And you can offer your service saying that you can create something that will be able to be online and grab information the users. For example, the page with the interest form that I created for this course was created on Next.js, and it was able to connect this data and everything without any extra server, any extra point, especially pain point for the development. I will explain how Next.js changed the way of working with React. And then we will start working on our first project. Very hands-on. I don't want to talk too much about these high-level concepts without showing you in code what it means. So this is a little about me. My name is Cristina Rodriguez. I realized working on Tectonica, I don't know if you all are familiar with Tectonica.org, but Tectonica.org is a little nonprofit that teach people how to code. And in my job there, I realized that I like educate engineers. And that's the reason I'm keep doing this. My philosophy is keep learning. I'm always learning new things. And that's the reason also I think that once you are able to explain something, it will be very clear that you know how to work with that. That's the reason I'm doing these courses. Okay, so the learning objectives, feel free to interrupt me at any moment if I lost you. Let me see the chat in case that you have questions there. Feel free to interrupt you at any moment if I lost you. Just shut up your question. But the learning objectives from today, I think are very scope conscious, and it's basically that you understand why it's important to learn Next.js and why it benefits the developing, and then setting up your environment and start working with Next.js and the very basic post. Something that it was very complicated in React, that it was creating the navigation bar, these routers, and Next.js resolved for you. That's the whole goal of this session. I want to say that we probably will not use the 2 hours. I probably will finish early and things like that, but I always separate these 2 hours because later it will get a little more complicated when we start working with real data, all of that. Okay, so why is important to learn Next.js? It's because it changed the way that React understand what is a web page. And in that, it changed the patterns of rendering data. And what I mean with that is that in the old React, and I want to say that React has more than 11 years old now. In the old React, basically, we'll still have the HTML and the JavaScript separate, right? And everything was connecting but for this little script in the HTML page that connected all your server, your React components. And this one's the old React. And basically, it was still considering that the HTML and the JavaScript was two things separate. And first rendering all the HTML and the JavaScript was at the bottom. So you will have these kind of situations where you need to wait, right? For the information to download because the information is downloaded actually from the JavaScript, not in the HTML. And you need the JavaScript because you need all the movements and all the interactions of the page. But with the new paradigm in Next.js, the software, the React is able to understand that HTML is not, the web page is not only HTML, it's HTML and JavaScript at the same time. So it's rendering super fast because it recognizes that it's two different things at the same time. So it's not only recognizing that it has a HTML and a JavaScript, it recognizes the new thing as an only a conjunct of things. And this new process is called iteration. And I will share with you these slides and you can see the link there. It has a whole technical explanation. But basically is that now the browser recognizes that the web is a full document and it doesn't separate HTML and JavaScript. So that makes it super fast for rendering. But the same time, because now it recognizes that it's a full thing, that a web page is a full document, you don't need the separation to a backend server anymore. Basically, eliminate that thing, which is huge because then you just need one environment for the development. And what it creates is a separation between what is a server component and a client component. And I will explain exactly how that works, but it has some rules of syntax, not complicated at all, but it has some rules there. And basically what it says is that now everything is in a single environment because you are creating also this full document, which is amazing for the development. It's super fast to render and it allows you to create these things. In this economy, you can create things like freelance, the landing page for a conference, freelance, anything that you need for your friends that have some business, anything. But let's show you what I mean. with all of that, because this is high level explanation, and I believe that you don't understand until you see what is happening. So the first thing that I want to share with all of you, because it's really good, is the official documentation of Next.js. But let me get out of this presentation and open my terminal. So what am I gonna do? You can see my terminal very well, or do you need me to make it more? I think I can make it. That will work? Yes? Okay. So the first thing for creating a project with Next.js is install Next.js. And in the installation, it does a bunch of things for you. So I want to show you the command that create. So what I will do for this live session is create a blog, something that I believe that you don't need to pay. Like everybody is creating is doing a newsletter nowadays, and there is a bunch of service that charge a lot of money for that. And you don't need to pay for that. You are a software developer. You can create your own blog and don't pay enough. So I will show you how to do that in these sessions. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna do the command for creating a new project on Next.js, which is something that you can do if you have Node in your computer. So how you know if you have Node, you do node dash dash version, and it will tell you what version of Node will have, and that will show you that you have Node. That's important. And then you can run the command for which is npx create next app at latest, and then the name of your project. Because I creating a tech blog, I will call it my tech blog. So again, it's npx create next app, which is just create next app at latest of Next.js. And then it will start asking you a bunch of things. So the first that it will ask you is that if you want it with TypeScript. The default is no, and for this purposes of this course, we will do it on JavaScript, so you will select the no. Would you like use slint? Yes, it's the default, basically following the default here. Do you like use Tailwind for CSS? Yes. Would you like to code inside the source directory? Yes. Would you like the app router, which is the new thing of doing routes with Next.js? And I will explain what that means in this session. And you say yes. Will you like Turbo Pack? The default is no, and you say no. The alias, the default is no, and you say no. And then they start all the installation. And that's it. It does everything for you that you need for the beginning of the project. Questions so far? You are with me? I'm not lost in you? Perfect. So now you need to go to the name of your project, to your directory, create a whole directory for you. So you need to do cd my tech blog. And if you do ls, you will see that it gives you a bunch of files. So this is an excellent point to open your code to Visual Studio Code, to whatever code editor you have. So let's do that. Let's do code that to open Visual Studio Code. Um, move this one. And let's see what files it gives you automatically. It gives you this public file that has all the image. Um, and I will show you where you can see those images. It will give you the git ignore. So it will start tracking your git, which is important. It will give you your JS config JSON. And more important, it will give you the package JSON, which has all the dependencies and all the installations libraries that it's using, and all the scripts that you are using to create this project. And because it gives you all the scripts, the dev, build, and start, we can, in a new terminal, we can run directly npm run dev, and it will run in your local host 3000. So let's go to localhost. And you have something running at the moment. It has a bunch of image because the home page for Next.js has a bunch of stuff. Question so far. You are with me? We haven't done anything way too complicated. Okay. So give you also this next config. We will use this one when we start using CSS things that we needed. But basically, it gives you all of the configuration that you need. And inside the source folder, it gives you this app, because app folder is the only one that it has there at the moment. It shows this way on Visual Studio Code, but it's basically showing you, if I can show you this in the source folder that is here, has a folder that is called app. That is what is happening here. And this app has three very important files. One, the global CSS, which is the basic CSS that it gives you with Tailwind. And we will see next Saturday how to work with Tailwind on Next.js. It will give you this layout, which is the file where you're gonna do and use all your metadata. So now with Next.js, it's very simple for developers use this metadata, this file layout to create all the metadata that they need. So changing things like changing the icon, the favicon, adding descriptions for different search engines, all that metadata that was very difficult to create on React because it's actually part of the HTML is now here, and it's just an object of JavaScript, and you can edit this, and it's a very useful thing for SEO purpose. And it gives you this page, which is the home. Now, it is important that it's called page. You cannot change the name of this file, sorry. It has to be named page, and I will explain why in a little, but if you are remembering something from this session, is that inside any folder that you wanted to become a route, you need to have something that is a file that is called page. And in this case, it's using to have the home. They changed the home a little because it has a bunch of stuff. So this is a basic React component. It has a bunch of links and image. And let's do something very simple. inside the return function of this. So let's delete all of that and just create this welcome to my meeting blog and a link that I want to work with all the posts from my blog. Very simple. And if I save this one, it will render automatically. And it's here. It doesn't have any CSS and it's just there. Now the link works because it's automatically, but I don't have anything at /post, right? I haven't created anything just yet. But it works because it recognizes any single link immediately just to create the link, the HRL. Now, how I can create this router if I want to use it? Well, in the old React, you have to install router and you have to do a bunch of stuff. Here, it's very, very simple and is one of the magic behind. So you want to have a router that is a /post. The only thing that you need to create is a folder inside the app. So inside app will be all the folders that you want that convert to a route. So you will create here a folder that is called post because that's your router. You wanted to have a post, right? And inside post, you will create a file that is called page.js. Now, once you do this, Next.js will recognize for you, oh, this is a router. This will become a router. So now, if you create a simple React component here, so you'll do yeah, let's do this one. With only with this, it will work. So if you go to post, it works with your post. That's the whole thing that you need to do to create a router. Question so far, because this is super powerful. This changed how React handle routers completely. Before that, you have to install libraries and do a bunch of things to create routers. And now you just create a folder with the name of your router and a page file. And Next.js will recognize that this is a router. Questions? Are all of you with me? Yes? Okay. So let's do some hard code data just because I'm very tired of just seeing posts of my post.
Sorry, quick question.
Yes,
Can you show your how do you made the link to get to this new page on your?
Yes. So in my home, I have a link, and a link is very a link HTML basic, and only with the H reference, which is now a property. Look how the Visual Studio recognize this is a property now of Next.js that recognize that anything that is here is a router. And because there is a folder with this same name, it recognizes that it's a router. And then I'm here in my home, I click the go to post and it recognizes.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so now it works for each one of the things that are inside app. But what if I have some data that I don't want it, that is a router because it's private data, I don't know, something that you don't need to show the user immediately. Well, for convention, and it's only a convention, but for convention, if you have some data that is private or something, you will create a data folder. So that folder should be at the same level of source, but not inside app. So at the same level of source, let's create a folder that is called data. Um, so if I show you, I'm here inside the source. If I show you this one, now I have app and data. And it's at this level that I can create a folder for each thing that I need. Imagine that you need, and we will see that you need some component. You will create this, at this level, the component folder. You will create at this level the library folder if you have some very specific library that you need to create for the, anything that is not a router has to be inside the source component folder, but not inside app, because inside app will be only the routers. Is that clear? Okay, so now that I'm here in data, I'm hard coding some data just to show you the difference. Let's create a file that is called post. Yes, but because it's inside data, Next.js doesn't recognize this as actually let's name it something so I don't confuse all of you. Let's call it data.js. So it will not recognize this as a router. I cannot say less 300 data. Doesn't understand what I'm talking because it's not inside the source app folder. But I can put here some data. So let's hard code. I will explain in this whole course how to bring real data from your database, and we are gonna use a sub-based database that is the latest thing that is working and it's super easy to import. But for now, let's do this. It's basically a JSON file or a list of objects, whatever you want to call it, with two posts. Hello, Next.js, and about a server component. Imagine that you have here a bunch of information. Question so far? Now I can go to my post and bring this data, right? How I can do that? Well, I can import it. It's very straightforward here. I can import post from data, and it will recognize that you have something that is an object, and you want to use it. And then I can use a little of basic React JavaScript component. Well, it's not JavaScript, it's JSX syntax. The syntax here is, as they all React, something is basically JavaScript with HTML. So in the return, now you will have a function. Look at that. It gives you everything. So I'm basically listing is a list, and for each one of the posts, I'm mapping that, and I will show in a list the key and the post title. So now if I go to my local, this is my local, I go to post, and I see each one of my posts. Questions so far? I haven't lost you, right? Now let's, yes, please.
Do you have a plugin that you're using for React? Because mine's not like auto-filling in the same way.
This is Visual Studio. I don't remember what component I am using, like what, um, but I can investigate and give you um the
Okay. No worries, that's fine. I can look into
yeah.
it too. Thanks.
It's here on, so you need to go to here unless yeah. No, that's your files. Extensions. You need to go to extensions and React. I think it's probably this one because this is my first option and I haven't installed it. So yeah, it's probably this one.
Okay, great. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so here I have a list with all my posts, right? You can imagine that you are bringing your post from a database. So now for just these examples, we are doing this. You are with me, right? Now, in a blog, if I show you a blog, and for example, let's show you Dep 2. So we have done this part. Like I'm looking a list of all the posts that I have. That's what we have done. But you will see each one of the posts is a link. Like the title of each one of your posts need to be a link to each one of your posts. This was a huge problem in the old React because then you need to create a whole router for each one of the titles of your post. And Next.js solved this problem beautiful because it solved this problem programmatically and it's amazing. And I want to show you how it solved this problem. So the first thing that we are gonna do is that we are gonna use something that is a new tool from Next.js that is a link. So you need to import that first. So we are gonna import link from Next link. It's a built-in component from Next.js, and that's the reason you are importing this from Next. It comes with the whole installation, so you don't need to install anything else. But let's use it now because this link will convert. So I still need the link because it's a list, and the key because if I don't give him a key, it will yell at me that each one of the li in a list has to have a unique. But now, inside that, I will create a link. And what I'm doing is I'm creating basically a link to each one of the posts. So you will recognize that is inside post and with something that is the title of the post as the link. Now, where I coming with this post slug and post type is in my data. So if you see each one of the posts has a slug, a title, and a content. And the slug is basically the title, but in a URL friendly way. So now if I do this and run from my home and go to my post, each one of the posts will be a link, but it doesn't work because I don't have anything here on post hello Next.js. It means that I don't have anything inside this folder that helps, like your first instinct could be say, well, I need to create inside post a folder that is called hello world and and inside that folder a page and that's it and that's how, but that could be complicated very quickly. And you don't know how many posts your blog will have. So what we're gonna do is using the powers of Next.js. So inside post, You will create a folder, and this is important because this is a special syntax. And the important part is that it has to have brackets. And inside the brackets, I will put slug because that's the variable that I'm using. And inside this folder that has now is named brackets slug, I will create a page. And inside this page, well, the first thing that I'm gonna do is import the data. That's from my data, my file. And then what I'm gonna do is basically a function that Next.js give you that allow you generate slugs dynamically for, so you can think the thing that is inside the slug, the brackets, as a dynamic generator. So it's a dynamic placeholder, basically. And what I will do now is the function that will create a real slug for that placeholder. And how you do that is basically a map function. So you export, actually, look, it's wrong for once. It's an async function. No, now it's not wrong. But basically, this is an async function that go through my post, go through each one of the posts, and convert the slug to the post slug. And once I have that function, it returns the slug. It doesn't return anything else. I can create my component. Let's do this component a little more complicated so you don't confuse the first function with the second one. This is a function. This is a real component. So I can do this. And it basically check if the post has a slug, convert this as a parameter of the URL. And it's super powerful because now if I save this and render and go to my local, go to all the posts and click each one of the posts, now I have a post, an URL. And it goes to post hello Next.js, and it showed me what is inside Next.js. And if I go to about server component, it showed me what is inside server component. And it's here that I can handle errors. So I can even say here, because I'm checking that this log exists, I can check that if there is no post, just return. No, return post not found. So I don't have a post about me. So if I go to post Christina, it will show that the post doesn't exist. And this is part of the official documentation too, because it's super, it's basically how we change the handle of routing. Let me share the official documentation with all of you in the chat. So it's the official documentation is this one. Wait. And the router specifically is this one. And we are basically doing this option. You see, the special syntax is that it has to be in breakers. That's how Next.js recognize. Questions? You are with me? Any questions? The you are with me? Okay, so the next thing that I want to create now is a component that I will use in the whole project. And for this specific project, I want to create a like button, because if you go to a real post, you will see that you have a reaction button in all of them. So I want to create something very similar to that one. So basically, this reaction button. Now, for convention, because it's a component that I will use in all the project, I need to create a folder, component, and then use it. So that folder should be at the same level as source, but outside app. So here on source, I will create a folder, components, that will have all your components that will be used not as a router, but as a component in the whole project. So now that I have components, I will create here the file for my like button, because I want to create now the component is very similar, is the sport default like button. And what I'm gonna do is the initial will be this one, but I want to increment the likes each time. To remember how that works is basically with a state. Is basically I'm creating a state that is like it, that initially will be 0, not false, is 0. That's the initial state. So if you remember from the React syntaxes, if you are using a state, you need to import the state. That's it. And then I'm creating this state that is called like, and the function that it will manage that state, and the initial state is 0. And what I wanted to happen is that each time the user click on the button, so each time the user click, I will move the like from 1. And let's create this with likes. Okay, I think now how you use a component on React, this haven't changed. You just have to import it in other components, right? I'm exporting this, and I'm expecting to use it on all of the other components. So let's use it in post. Let's use it first in page on my post. So what I do here is important the like component from my components, like button. And once I import it, I can use it. So yeah, just like that. Because it's a simple component, I'm not passing any props or anything. Now, immediately, it gives me an error. And this is an important error because Now we get to the difference between server components and client components. And it's basically each time that you're asking something from the user is a client component. So I'm asking the user to click to increment the likes. And this is how Next.js tell me like, no. If you are asking something from the user, this thing is a client component. So I need to fix that, and it's very simple. Now, on top of your component, you use client. So this is another difference. Next.js, for Next.js, every component is a server component until you say the contrary. And the contrary is that it is a client component. It's super important that you have this clear. For Next.js, every component is a server component by default, although you say the contrary, that is a client component. And how you know there is a client component? Because you are asking something from the user. So each time that you have a form, each time that you have a button, each time that you have something that a user needs to do is a client component. That's clear? It's super clear because if I'm not asking something from the user, for example, in my post, it's a server component. And I can do fetch there and do all of things that you can do on server component. But if I'm asking something from the user, it's a client. That's clear? Okay, now I have, let's go to my home. And you can see the lights. In the next session, we will work with CSS to make this beautiful because it's awful right now, but it works. It increments the likes. Questions so far? All of you with me? Well, that's it for this first session. Now you know how to create a simple project with Next.js, how to install it, how to create the basic routers from things that will be static and from things that will be dynamic. Now you know how to use client components and understand the difference between things that have to be inside the router or inside data or inside the component. And with that, it's a good space to wait and pause and prepare you for, in the next session, we will work with setting things with CSS and how to actually fetch data in a server component. Questions?
You said you're going to share this recording with us?
I will share everything, the recording, the code. I have a handout with the things that we learned today, everything.
Great, thank you.
Okay, I will see you next Saturday to work with CSS inside Next.js and to actually work with fetching data in a server component. How that sound? Interest? Perfect. Thank you so much, all of you, for spending your Saturday with me. It's super fun to explain all these things. I'm a huge fan on Next.js. Valerie, you have a question?
Yeah, I just wanted to see if I'm understanding correctly. So, as far as the data folder, was that just hard coded to get data into the component to display? Or is
Yes.
that something we'll see more as when like you do fetch data from a database?
Yeah. For this session, I'm hard coding the data. I have just a JSON object where I'm hard coding.
Mhm.
In the next session, I will show you how to fetch data from the internet in a server component. It's very easy. And in the next session, I will show you how to connect a database. So now you have the whole connection working, and you are not just fetching data to show the user, but you are actually doing something with that data and in a piece. How that sound?
I'm so excited. This is
Yeah,
exciting.
yeah,
Thank you so much.
you're welcome. Thank you so much, all of you, for spending your Saturday with me. Some of you are on the East Coast. It's very late in the Saturday for you, so thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye.